Hi everybody, Anne Louise Mason, or ALM here. I'm excited to tell you a fun story from my morning musing, is that last year I won a Harley Davidson motorcycle. It was 900 pounds of too fast and too cool for me, so I sold it this spring and got bicycles. So we've been having a lot of fun on our gravel bikes, exploring the neighborhoods, the trails, and getting ready for a really exciting fall. One of the things that you have to learn when you get into a fun bicycle is learning how to take care of it. And so today I'm going to show everyone how to change a tire so that we can get ready for our next ride. So first, take the tire off the bike, which as a novice is kind of a long process, so I spared you how I did it. You can YouTube it if you want to watch a professional do it quickly. But take your tire levers, you identify the valve stem on your bike, and then you start by releasing the air in the tire, which I've already done, and then removing the tire from the rim of the wheel. So the tire lever goes under, rotates around, and clips onto the spoke. Then you take his friend, and you go to the spoke, just one down the road, and start loosening. Once you've done this a few times, you can move a little bit farther apart, and the idea is to quickly loosen this so that you can get all the way around and remove the tire. As you become more familiar with this and your hands get more flexible at it, you're able to very quickly remove the tire from the wheel. And then you return to where the spoke is back at the top of the wheel. And this is something I didn't know was a thing until I got this bike this summer, is that inside of the tire is an inner tube. And that's actually what's cushioning your ride when you're bumping along the road. So you go inside and you want to fully remove this so that it is not blocking. And you're going to carefully remove the inner tube. This takes a little bit of hand strength, so you have to make sure that you're not pinching anything, and I'm twisting it just to make sure that I don't accidentally cause any rips or damage. But you get to where the inner tube is, and then you lift up so that the full valve is out, and then you start gently removing. You want to make sure that you don't crimp it, rip it, or that it doesn't snag on anything while you take it off. And you just gently remove it and take it aside. It has a little bit of air left in it so that it's easier to get back on, kind of floppy. So then you take the tire itself off, and then you'll need to check the tape and these little divots where each of the spokes for the wheel is to make sure that they haven't pushed through while you're out riding. So you run your finger along inside of the groove in the wheel and check the tape. This is important because it ensures the stability of the wheel itself, and also that you don't puncture your inner tube while you're riding and suffer a serious flat. It's great because if you start at the top, you'll know when you're back to the top you've been all the way around. So then, assuming that your inner tube has suffered no damage, which you can also check by looking for any kinds of leaks, pinches, or if there's any debris. Also, something that's important to do as an early cyclist is to make sure that you have your first fall. Have a spectacular one and have a cool scar, and then tell your mom that you're really glad you're not on a Harley Davidson. So if you've had a mild fall, definitely check and then continue with replacing the tire. So it's really important to make sure that the tire is following so that it would rotate in a forward direction. I don't know if you can see, but the tread on this tire faces forward, and so that's what guides the channel if it's going through mud or anything wet. And so I'm going to make sure that I'm lining this up in the correct way to go the correct direction on the tire. And so I can see that it would be across from the brake. And then, because it's easy to try to line it up to something that you can see, I like to line the logo that is on the wheel directly up with the logo that is on the tire. And that's just personal preference, but that way you know that it's balanced and it gives you a visual cue when you're going around to make sure that you've got this under control. Then it's really important that you set the wire bead of the tire that's on the back into the rim of the wheel and get it settled. I'll probably just start from the back. Push this around, and so now that's fully seated. And I'll double check that I've lined this up exactly in the middle as I intended. It might take me a couple of tries, but that's life, is learning your way through. All right, while I was in that process, I clearly let it slip a little so you can rotate it here. But again, you're looking for where that comes through, where your valve stem comes through to line up. Then go back to your semi-inflated inner tube, and because it's been sitting in the heat, it might have expanded some. So just let a little bit more air out, and then very carefully put this under your tire entirely and fit it through. It'll take just a second to get it seated. So once it's flush, you just start tucking gently around, and you're making sure that there aren't any creases, pinches, snags, or anywhere where you would cause yourself to have a flat. So you just rotate this through all the way around. I think my favorite thing about biking is that it meets all of the social distancing requirements, and it has none of the jarring impact of running. It seems a lot easier to get up and go for a bike ride than when I was promising myself I'd get up and go running. I'm good at the gym. I'm good at going to a class. If you're like, I'm gonna get up and go running, it's a lie. But I'll get up and go cycling. I like the speed of it. And it's also really neat to see how many people are up and about, maybe actually jogging, or other cyclists in your neighborhood. It has definitely taken me longer than I thought it would to feel comfortable crossing the street. And so it's been interesting to have to learn to be brave in small ways on a bicycle. This is also my first time clipping into pedals, so that's been really fun to figure out what happens when your feet are attached to the bicycle. And again, telling my mom, don't worry, at least it's not a Harley. All right, so once this is seated, and I've checked all the way around, I'll start centering this and pushing so that the full tire is all the way around. And this is tricky. So you do a large movement, so we think of this as the gross movement where you're holding it and turning it to work your way around, and then start zeroing in. And this is a place again where if there's too much air in the inner tube or it's getting warm because you're working it, you can continue to use that to release some of the pressure from it. And work that all the way around. Get that seated. So it will be a little misshapen because it's not fully inflated, but you'll want to go through and pinch to make sure that nothing has been crimped, that there's nothing being pinched or strained. Again, that you're not setting yourself up for a flat tire in the future. And then once you're sure that it's seated, you can put it back on the bike and reinflate. So this morning we changed a tire together. Thanks.